This is the morning of the 12th of August, 2024. One of my subscribers sent me this link titled, "Men Retreat from Society. The Army is Desperate for Men They Can't Stand." Put it by Odd Man Out News. Plays for 22 minutes and 40 seconds. Don't know how much of it I'll play, depends on what he has to say. But you'll have the link to listen to it in its entirety if I don't do the same. So sit back and have a listen.
The military. This is I thought about using this thumbnail, but I've been talking about this for years now, years on the BB channel, and it's getting worse. You know, first they came out and they said, we're going to take the fatties. We're going to take people that are overweight, not just a little overweight. Because when I was in, they did the military. Let me read the headline. U.S. Army has chased away all the male recruits. So when I was in, back in the early 90s, there were a couple guys that were overweight. But when I mean overweight, like they were 20 pounds overweight, 30 pounds overweight. And those guys were put on meal rationing. They were put on extra exercise to burn it off. And if they couldn't burn it off, they were ejected out of the military. They were kicked out. But over the years, they said, okay, we're going to accept people with a higher BMI and more. And the BMI just kept going up and up and up. And then the strength tests went down. So it's easy. You have to be, you can be weaker and weaker. And then the intelligence tests fell off. Then instead of being a high school graduate, it was GED or equivalent. And then they're like, forget it. Don't even worry about that. So basically, they've basically gotten to the point of, can you breathe and walk to the recruitment center? If so, we will take you into the military. They've dropped things off by that much, and they're still short of recruiting. They're still short of recruiting. Now, I'm going to read a story, but before I read that story, I want you to see this recruitment video. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. Let me repeat that, because you're going to think this is a joke. This is not a joke. My dudes, now if you've been in the military before, you understand everything that's wrong with this photo. Number one, the women have makeup and fake lashes on. Does that sound like basic training to you? This woman here has her hair like done in little spirals glued to her forehead. Does that sound right to you? This one's wearing a civilian watch. Does that sound right to you? Anyway, you see, she's holding a pink drink mug. She's holding a pink drink mug. She's wearing an Under Armour t-shirt with an Under Armour logo. They're wearing, now granted, they've still got the black socks on, whatever that means. They've all got various types of sneakers. None of this is basic training. When I went to basic training, you were stripped down to nothing. And you got government-issued underwear and government-issued shirts and government-issued BDUs and government-issued glasses and government-issued everything. So you can understand why I'm confused looking at this whole thing. Now, once I push play on this, I'm not trying to be dramatic. Once I push play on this, you will 100% understand why there are no more corn-fed, country boy, masculine men in the military. 3, 2, 1.
Who are you? Who are we? We are that platoon.
No. You gotta do it like this. Who are you? Who are we? We are that platoon.
Who are you? Who are we? We are that platoon.
Okay. 2 snaps and a side bend, ladies. That's your recruiter or your trainer with a Coca-Cola styrofoam cup in his hands. Yes. The chat is blowing up with everybody being like, what the Hello there. Jazz hands, welcome to the U.S. Army, everybody. Now, everybody get your drink cups. We're going to do some Pilates, and then we're going to get our nails done. And then we're going to talk about why white male toxicity is a threat to the United States Army. Come on, boys. Do you see why I'm saying there's no more corn-fed, middle America dudes? Do you understand? Yes, I'm good at it, Offensive, because I watch this crap. It is not hard to make fun of somebody. Hey, gay boys. Do you understand why I keep saying if we get into a conflict, we're in deep, deep trouble? I'm going to play this one more time, then I'm going to read the article.
Who are you? Who are we? We are that platoon.
No. You gotta do it like this. Who are you? Who are we? We are that platoon.
Who are you? Who are we? We are that platoon.
Hi, I'm James.
An ad popped up. I'll get rid of it.
Who's that for? Who is that for? Serious question. If this is for recruiting, fail. What was important is that we all had the same goal. We were all support America, American pride, military pride, be tough. They broke you down. We were brothers when it came to that. So it had nothing to do with like where you were from in the country or your skin color or none of the rest of that. That really, really didn't matter. I don't know what this is, but this is the most ridiculous crap because this dude he's got a soda cup. Like, what kind of training is this? Hey, who's this video for? Who's this video for? It's so stupid. This is from the military news, military.com. The Army's recruiting problem is male. The issue is convincing men to put on the uniform. A decade of declining recruitment numbers for the Army is almost entirely attributable to a significant drop in male recruiting as female enlistments have remained relatively flat, internal service data reviewed by military.com shows. Since 2013, male enlistments have dropped 35%, going from 58,000 men enlisting in 2013 to 37 in 2023. Yeah, but here's the problem with that. These are the dudes you're recruiting right now. Hello, my name's Percival. I'll be your trainer. If that's the dude you're getting, you're in trouble. The stark numbers paint a clear picture of a significant source of the military's recruiting struggles, with the Army making up the lion's share of the entire force and thus needing the greatest volume of new enlistments every year. Those shortfalls have contributed to the service overworking its force, something senior leadership has conceded is a significant problem. Here's the problem with overworking your force when you're military. There is no overtime. There is no extra pay. If you just end up working your military dudes and overworking them and overworking the force, do you know what you get? A lot of really mad military people that don't want to do it anymore. And morale plummets. And they tell all their friends it sucks. And because if you asked me, when I signed up for the military and when I was going through training and I just got out of the basic training and stuff as I was heading off to my tech school, which was law enforcement, if you asked me, hey, should I sign up for the military? I'd say, you know what, if you don't know if you want to go to college yet, or you don't know what you want to do, but you want to maybe get some free training and learn to toughen up a little bit and serve your country and support your country, yeah, I'd say go for it. 15 hot minutes after I got out of the military, if somebody came to me and said, hey, would you suggest I go into the military? I said, nope, there's no overtime. If you get a sunburn so bad you couldn't work, they could write you up and they will literally cite damage to government property. Now, is that actually what they charged you with? Probably not. And they'd probably still make you work with a sunburn, whether you screamed about it or not. But there are stories of people getting in a lot of trouble for something that would normally you just take a day off of work. That's not allowed. Now you're probably fine. Now they probably send you off to like a Airbnb for a weekend to recover and have some mimosas or something or other. They say the Army came up 10,000 soldiers short of its goal bringing in 65,000 new active duty troops last year. In 2022, it missed a goal of 60,000 by 15,000. These shortfalls were consistent with a decline in recruiting among men. This year, the service reduced its goal, seeking 55,000 new recruits. So you missed it by 10, and then you missed it by 15. So you're short of 25,000 units the previous 2 years. And then you come in and you say, well, we'll just reduce our goal. And you come short of that. That means that in just a couple of years, you're short almost 100,000, well, not 100, short 50,000 troops. You're short 50,000 troops in just a couple of years. And then you got all the guys that bounced because of the jab. There were a ton of guys that either took early retirement or bounced out or quit or were let go from the military because of the jab. And what did our government do after doing that? They came back around to them and went to the pilots that quit and the special forces that quit and all the other ones that quit. And they said, hey, we'd like you to come back. Mostly officers, because if you're enlisted, you can't bounce out like that. Mostly the officers. And the officers went, no, bite me where the sun doesn't shine. I'm not coming back. And so not only do you have recruitment shortfalls, but you have retention shortfalls because of the jabs and people saying, I want a religious exemption, and then being told no. And they said, I'm just going to retire early. I don't trust the government. I don't trust this stuff. And thank goodness they didn't, because there's a lot of people having issues. They say the demographic data traces the military's recruiting struggle with a decline spanning the leadership of presidents from both major parties with vastly different public stances on military culture. Critics have argued that the problem is tied to changes in military policy, including...
The problem is tied to putting people in charge of our military that were never in our military. That's what the problem is. They have no basis of understanding. They can't relate to them. And it's completely insane that you take a civilian that's never served and make them commander-in-chief of the entire military. It's completely, totally insane. Let's go back.
Specific claims that the military has become woke. But experts describe broader issues with men becoming less engaged in American society and less like...
The military became woke once that fag with the floppy ears and a pockmarked face, that Muslim. Remember when he made cadets wear high-heel red pump shoes? Huh? That's when it all began. That's when this whole homosexual, transgender bullshit kicked into high gear, when they let that fag become president. The Kenyan with the fake birth certificate, with the fake military registration card, with the fake social security card. I mean, how completely obvious and insane is this? Let's go back.
To enroll and graduate from college, more likely to end themselves by self-deletion or overdose, and slowly disappearing from the general workforce. The sharp drop in the mid-2010s of men's participation in the workforce, education, and military service is part of what some experts call a national crisis of masculinity. Well, color me shocked. So you mean that you've disparaged men in the media, in the news, from women, from feminism, from TV programs, from advertising, everything, calling them toxic, calling them toxic masculinity, putting them down, shaming them, saying they should be ashamed, telling them stop talking to women, stop flirting, it's gross, it's creepy, all the things that men have been told they're bad for. And you say, something, I'll tell you how bad it is now. 20% more women graduate college than men. 20% more with 4-year degrees. Now 60% of graduates are women, 40% men. That is a 10%. I mean, that's 20% more women that are graduating these upper colleges. So when you look at that, and then you say men are not participating in society, men are taking basic paying jobs and they have roommates and they just rent a place with 4 dudes, and they go do their minimum wage jobs, and they come back and they play video games, and they maybe take a little bit of Mary Jane and have some fun, and they don't date, and they don't grow up, and they don't, because there's the Peter Pan syndrome of them not growing up. And they do all these things because now they're saying they're less engaged, they don't graduate as much, they self-delete more often, they are disappearing from the workforce, they're not signing up for the military. And at no point, here's the $1 million question: how many conversations are we having about this? Not on my channels, and not just quietly, like a little whisper here and there. How many people in Congress or the Senate or the presidents or military leaders, how many people are talking about like saying we have a genuine problem? What do you think happens in the UK and Europe and the United States when men collectively, but the vast majority of the population, which is white men, what happens when they just say, I'm good. I just work at Taco Bell and make enough to afford my rent and play video games with my friends. How does that help our society? Because what happens overwhelmingly is women, when they get into their 30s and their 40s, they say, oh, I want a family. Oh, I want a husband that does better than I do. Well, they don't exist anymore. You chase them out. Well, I want a family. Well, men aren't going to ask you out because you told them it was toxic. Why don't men pay for dates and open doors anymore? You told us that was bad. This is the culmination of that. And they're even admitting it. The sharp drop in the mid-2010s. That's 10 years ago. What happened? All the woke stuff. All the shaming men. They say this goes way beyond military recruitment. Ronald Levant, professor of psychology at the University of Akron and former president of the American Psychological Association, told Military.com, it really has to do with a social change. I think there's a motivational syndrome that seems to permeate a lot of young men today. They're just not motivated to do very much. Again, go listen to my rant from 30 seconds ago. They're told constantly from the age of kindergarten that everybody hates them, and they're the reason for all societal woes. Of course they're dropping out. The Army started missing recruitment goals in 2015, coming off the hills of some internal restructuring, going woke, in other words. After the most intense years of the Afghan war during the so-called Obama surge. That was Don't Ask, Don't Tell. That year also saw the rise of the Also Me movement and former President Donald Trump's successful presidential campaign, 2 significant cultural events which gendered politics and grievances were a center of gravity. They say the Army is juggling enormous missions across 2 hemispheres. Ukraine, obviously, and of course what's happening in the Middle East now. This is why I keep saying we're not ready for this stuff. That's why I keep saying we're not ready for these conflicts. Our government is writing big checks that our military cannot cash. Can we do the Middle East? Yeah, probably. Could we do Ukraine and assist there? Yeah, probably. Could we maybe effectively help Taiwan? Yeah, I'd imagine so. What if North Korea kicks off against South Korea? Could we do something there? Yes, we could. What if all of it happens at once? What if Ukraine and Israel thing in the Middle East and China goes for Taiwan and they're maybe putting pressure on Japan, so that might take a couple of aircraft carriers, and North Korea starts leaning on South Korea? What happens if everything all happens at once? Yeah,
I am Rob.
Folks, the sad reality, this isn't just the Army. It's the Air Force, it's the Navy, it's the Marines, it's the Coast Guard. Obama's plan to destroy this country is in high gear, and they're not going to stop. I'll attach the link. pass it along. And thanks for listening.